What if a game could break your heart and heal it at the same time? Hollow Knight isn't just a game, it's an experience, a journey through a fallen kingdom that somehow still brims with hope. From the moment you descend into Hollow Nest's depths, you feel it, a whisper of secrets, beauty in ruins, and a quiet voice saying that this place matters. In this video, I want to take you on a journey back through this world, a love letter to Hollow Knight, its creators, and amazing community that brought me into this adventure. Together we'll celebrate the storybook world of Hollow Nest, the elegant language of its gameplay, and the unforgettable battles with its bosses, and a personal tale of how this game changed my life. So grab a seat, let's dive in. Hollow Knight's world of Hollow Nest unfolds like a dark fairy tale. Each area a page in a grand storybook. The kingdom has seen better days, and Hollow Nest lies in ruin. Its city of tears perpetually drenched by rain, and nearly every creature a shambling corpse because of a mysterious infection. Infected husks roam aimlessly, and deep nest below seethes with living shadows and nightmares. Yet, amid the decay, there's profound beauty. Take Greenpath, an early area of the game. Its lush garden brimming with life, mossy cliffs, and glowing flora lighting your way through the darkness. The air there feels alive, with gentle ambience and a beautiful soundtrack. In the City of Tears, the soft piano music plays as the rain falls around the towers, creating an atmosphere of sorrow and hope all at once. Even in Deep Nest, as terrifying as it is with spiders, the silence, it has a purpose in the story. Every locale in Hollow Nest tells a tale through environmental storytelling. The scenery and sounds quietly reveal what happened there without a single word. Exploring feels like turning the pages in a silent novel where you uncover the lore piece by piece. The lore of Hollow Knight isn't dumped on you, it's discovered, hidden in inscriptions, in the design of ancient monuments, and in quiet conversations with few friendly faces you meet. The world itself is the narrator, revealing history to those who pay attention. For example, when you venture into the fungal waste, you might stumble upon the Mantis village, home to the proud Mantis tribe. But deep in that village sanctum, you face the Mantis Lords, a trio of warriors who test your skills. Defeat them and the Mantis Lords bow to you. They bow down to you respectfully, and they acknowledge your strength. And from that moment, the rest of the Mantises cease attacking you out of honor. It's a subtle storytelling moment. In a kingdom consumed by infection and madness, these warriors, they keep their pride and tradition. Amidst the chaos, honor still lives in Hollow Nest. It's like a fable. Earn the respect of even your foes through courage and skill. You'll meet many memorable characters who bring Hollow Nest's storybook to life. Cornifer, the map maker, who leaves friendly notes and hums cheerful tunes in each new area, guiding you with a hand-drawn map as if inviting you to fill in this map with your own discoveries. Hornet, the mysterious princess who appears and vanishes like a recurring heroine in a fairy tale, challenging you yet ultimately guiding you toward the truth of your quest. Zod the Mighty, the comically self-important knight who recites his ridiculous 57 precepts of Zod and constantly brags about his non-existent feats. He's the comic relief of our story and a character out of a children's book who provides laughter amidst the gloom and doom. Yeah, we have rolled our eyes at his boast, but he's also endearing in his own weird way. And then there's Quirrell, the gentle traveler who joins you at intervals, and one of the most endearing moments is finding Quirrell sitting quietly at a blue lake. The two of you just rest there, listening to the peaceful water. A somber yet reflective moment that can bring a tear to your eye. In the silence by the lake, with the soft music playing, the game speaks volumes about friendship, longing, and the passage of time without saying a single word. Even side characters and background elements have emotional weight. Consider the last stag. The final giant stag beetle who runs the rundown stagways, the fast travel system of Hollow Knight. He is literally the last of his kind, yet he remains devoted to his duty, helping travelers across the kingdom. Every time you unlock a new stag station, the last stag reminisces about better days when the stagways were bustling with life and he carried countless passengers in his youth. There's a quiet sadness to him, but also pride. Eventually, if you reopen all the stations, he discovers the long-lost stag nest, and finding eggshells of newly hatched stag. In the moment, the old warrior feels hope that he might not be the last of his kind. And just think about that. An ancient beetle alone in a dying kingdom, holding on to the hope that his lineage is not truly over. It's the kind of emotional detail that makes Hollow Knight's world so special. It hurts and uplifts you at the same time. Hollow Knight truly is a storybook world, painted in shades of dark and light, and full of tragedy and triumph. Each new area, each NPC adds another chapter to the tale, and as players relive that tale with every single step. Beyond its lore, Hollow Knight speaks to us through the language of gameplay. The way you fight and move through Hollow Knight becomes a story of its own. The combat and traversal mechanics are elegant, almost poetic, and they convey emotion without a single line of dialogue. At the core is the nail, your trusty sword, which has a simple but satisfying slash. There's no fancy combo system, just you and your nail. It's an extension of yourself, basically. But simplicity doesn't mean shallow. In fact, the minimalism of your moveset is kind of deceptive because the game pushes you to master every nuance. For example, striking an enemy with a nail causes recoil to both of you and the foe. A tiny detail that leads to one of Hollow Knight's most signature movement mechanics, pogo. By striking downwards on enemies or hazards, you can bounce upwards, effectively using your nail as a pogo stick. The first time you accidentally do this, it feels like discovering fire. Suddenly you can reach higher platforms or avoid damage by bouncing off a foe's head. The game's level design then encourages this, as you'll eventually encounter spikes that are arranged in ways that practically whisper to you, "Try pogo me." Before long, downslashing to pogo becomes second nature. A verb in your vocabulary as you traverse in tricky landscapes. It's movement as language. You communicate with the world by mastering its physics. Combat itself is intertwined with movement in a brilliant balance. Hollow Knight introduces a resource called soul. Basically a magic or energy which you gain by hitting enemies with the nail. A soul is precious because it fuels your spells and your ability to heal. This creates a kind of tension in every fight. Do you want to spend soul to cast a powerful spell and finish an enemy faster, or do you want to save that soul to heal your wounds? You often only have enough to do one or the other, so the choice is constant and strategic. You might be in a boss battle with your health low, holding enough soul for one heal. Do you retreat to a safe spot and heal, or do you unleash a vengeful spirit spell to stagger the boss, hoping to end the fight quicker? The genius of the system is that it forces you to dance between offense and defense. Hollow Knight's combat is a constant conversation of risk and reward. Aggression gives you the means to survive, but only if you know when to pull back. This interplay turns even minor enemy encounters into a thoughtful exercise. Every swing of the nail, every dodge, every fireball, or healing attempt is part of a dynamic rhythm. When you really get into the zone, combat feels like a tense waltz. Attack, dodge, attack, heal, attack. A choreography that's challenging but fair. And because the system's also tightly designed, when you die, you usually know it was you that made a mistake. A beat missed in the dance, rather than a cheap trick by the game. That's why learning the combat feels so rewarding. It's pure skill and understanding. The game teaching you its language, and then testing you with it. Movement in Hollow Knight starts simple and grows into a beautiful symphony of abilities too. Initially, the knight is limited. You can jump, you can slash, and that's pretty much it. But as you progress, you acquire new movement powers that open up the world. The Mothwing Cloak grants you a dash. The Mantis Claw lets you cling off of walls and wall jump. And the Monarch Wings gives you double jump. Each new ability is not only for a tool for navigation, but is also an expansion of the game's vocabulary for platforming challenges. Hollowness is full of hidden nooks and ledges just out of reach, gently telling you, come back when you have learned how to fly. And one of the purest tests of movement mastery is the infamous Path of Pain, a secret platforming gauntlet meant only for the most skilled players. Within the community, it's generally regarded as the toughest platforming challenges in the entire game. Traps, buzzsaws, spiked floors. The Path of Pain throws everything at you, demanding precision pogo jumps, perfectly timed dashes, and unwavering focus. It's brutal, yes, but it's also exhilarating. Every tiny success along the path feels huge, and reaching the end, it's nothing short of triumphant. The Path of Pain exists not to torment you, but as a celebration of how fluent you've become in Hollow Knight's platforming language. It's the game saying, you've come this far, let's see how much further you can go. And if you can go that far, you've truly internalized the movement language of Hollow Knight. Now, let's talk about one of my favorite aspects, charms. Charms are these little equipable trinkets that modify your abilities and stats, and they're essentially the game's way of letting you customize the grammar of combat movement to your liking. With 40 plus charms, the combinations are endless and often ingenious. You want to play as a spell-singing glass cannon? Well, equip Shaman Stone to amplify your spells, and maybe add Spell Twister to cast more often. At the cost of not focusing on health and defense, you do a lot of damage. Or do you prefer a nimble melee build? I use Quick Slash for faster strikes and Unbreakable Strength for raw power. You'll shred through enemies if you're skilled enough to avoid their hits, but perhaps the most fun and other quirky and creative charm synergies that you play in a completely different way. For instance, you can become a summoner, and you can equip Weaver Song and Glowing Womb together, and you'll surround yourself with tiny little bugs. It's a swarm of weaverlings and hatchlings that bite and attack your enemies. Add Grub Song to gain soul when they get hit, and suddenly you have an army of mini bugs fighting on your behalf. It's hilarious and surprisingly effective to watch bosses get mobbed by your tiny insect army. Or perhaps you like a bit of smell. The Defender's Crest charm makes the knight emit a constant poison cloud, or a fart cloud, and combine that with certain other charms, and you can literally turn your knight into a walking pile of fumes. You can heal and do spore clouds, or you can vomit flukes at your enemies. It's gross, but it's brilliant. And it's something only a game like Hollow Knight would let you do. The charm system feels like a playground of possibilities. It not only adds a depth to the combat, but it also invites experimentation. Almost like you're writing your own spells in the game's language. You could tell your story through how you build your character. A valiant warrior, an agile acrobat, a sorcerer, or a master of the swarm. Any playstyle is valid if you learn to use it well, and the best part is that the game is balanced enough that even unconventional builds can carry you far if you commit to them. This freedom to express yourself through gameplay makes each player's journey feel personal. Hollow Knight's combat and movement aren't just mechanics, they're a form of expression. A language that speaks to the player and allows the player to speak back through action. Hollow Knight's free Hidden Dreams update added new dream bosses like Grey Prince Zod and White Defender, extra challenges as a thank you to the game's passionate backers. If the world and gameplay of Hollow Knight are the lines of its story, then the boss battles are the exclamation points. Dramatic, challenging encounters that punctuate your journey and test everything you've learned. And oh, what incredible bosses this game has. Each boss fight in Hollow Knight is a finely crafted duel, often as beautiful as it is intense. The designers somehow made these fights brutal but fair, and punishing yet rewarding. The very definition of tough love, if you think about it. You are gonna die many times, but each death teaches you something. The patterns there are to learn, the tells can be recognized, and with practice your nimble fingers and sharp wits will prevail. There's a reason no one ever forgets their first time facing the Mantis Lords or Watcher Knights. The game demands you to improve, and when you finally emerge victorious, you feel like you genuinely earned it. None of these battles ever feel impossible though. They are exhilarating, the difficulty always just on the right side of reasonable, pushing you to play at your best. As one reviewer aptly put it, Hollow Knight will constantly push your mastery of a simple system to the absolute breaking point. But it trusts you to get there. And so we push and we struggle and eventually we adapt and overcome. That journey from confusion to competence to finally conquering a boss is one of the most rewarding and addictive feelings that Hollow Knight has to deliver. The boss design in this game is superb, both mechanically and emotionally. Take the fight against Soul Master in the City of Tears. The atmosphere tense, you're in this echoing chamber full of whirling soul energy, and the master himself teleports around, hurling orbs and crashing down with force. It's likely the toughest boss you faced up to this point, but finally you whittle his health down and land the final blow. He staggers, explodes. You won! Relief washes over you until the Soul Master's vengeful spirit re-manifests for a second phase, catching you completely off guard. I remember my jaw dropping as he came back. Now faster, more aggressive. His fake out is one of those gaming moments you never forget. Crucially, it doesn't feel unfair. It feels like the boss tricked me in the best way, fitting for a master of soul magic. Moments like that show how Hollow Knight's bosses keep you on your toes, always with a twist or an escalation that makes sense for their character. And then there's Nightmare King Grim, a boss so iconic and artful that many fans cite it as their favorite boss in the game. Grim comes from the DLC Grim Troop. It's essentially a traveling carnival full of nightmare bugs, and he's introduced with all the theatrical flair of a stage performer. The lights dim, an accordion and organ melody swells, and Grim, a kind of a vampire looking guy, bows to you before the duel. The fight that follows is often described as a dance. Grim moves with a deadly grace, every attack coming in a rhythm with the music. Each dodge and strike feeling like steps in a waltz. The music, so dramatic. It's like a gothic piece of pounding organ chords that perfectly match the tempo of battle. My heart was pounding the entire time, but I couldn't stop smiling. The Nightmare King Grim fight is challenging. He is fast and he hits like a truck, yet so well telegraphed that when you die, you just want to jump back into it because it was fun. It's like you're learning a dance routine. Attempt after attempt, you start to anticipate the next step, and eventually it clicks. You find the groove, and suddenly you're dodging and counter-attacking in harmony with this elegant boss. When I finally beat Grim, I think I actually applauded. It felt like finishing a performance, And to this day I still get goosebumps hearing his theme because it brings me back to the adrenaline-fueled battle. It's unforgettable. The brilliance of Hollow Knight's bosses is also in their variety and how they tie into the lore. Some fights are grand and climactic, and some fights are key to the story, like the Dreamers. Defeating them is portrayed not just as a physical victory, but a metaphysical one. You shattering the seals on the final boss's chains. Team Cherry, being the awesome devs that they are, created 3 content packs post-launch and introduced new boss fights as a nod to the supporters. For example, the Hidden Dreams update that added 2 new dream bosses, a White Defender, a powered up version of the Dung Defender, and Great Prince Zote, a bizarre dream version of Zote imagined by another character's fantasies, fulfilling a promise to enrich the game for all the fans. It speaks volumes to how much the creators cared. They didn't just hit their Kickstarter goals, they went above and beyond, gifting the community extra battles that, while optional, add depth and humor to the world. And if you haven't fought Great Prince Zote, well, prepare for a fight that's funny and punishing. Not all bosses in Hollow Knight are equal in stature. Some are tiny side bosses or even jokes in the community, but even those serve a purpose. Let's give a special mention to the massive moss charger. By all accounts, this moss creature in Green Path is one of the easiest, most trivial bosses in the game. Some might even call it a shit boss, but it basically just charges at you, and you can literally stand there and slash away to defeat it. So why include it? Well, because even in this simple fight, it teaches the player something. It's placed in an area where you might still be learning the ropes, and the moss charger's straightforward attack is a safe way to practice your timing, or to see how spells work on bigger targets. It's the game's gentle way of saying, here's a freebie. Use it to hone your skills. Plus, the sheer absurdity of a giant moss blob roaring at you adds a little charm to the world. Hollow Knight knows when to lighten the mood, and this balance of serious epic bosses and goofy bosses, or easy ones, gives some pacing to the game. It feels more organic. That not every foe is out there to utterly wreck you, and some are just there to be stepped on, and that's okay. Ultimately, every boss defeat in Hollow Knight feels like a triumph. You often walk away with more than just a check mark on a quest. You maybe earn a new ability, or unlock a new area, or simply gain a deeper understanding of the story. Radiance, the final boss, even ties the narrative together in an epic showdown that tests all your combat and platforming skills. By the time you've bested Hollow Knight's greatest foes, you feel like you've earned the title of a true knight. The bosses, with their fair yet ferocious design, are the perfect climax points of the adventure, ensuring that when the credits roll, you're not just watching a story, but you lived it. You fought for it, and you shouted in victory at the end. Now, I want to share something a bit more personal. For me, Hollow Knight isn't only a masterpiece of a game, design and art. It's a journey that marked a turning point in my own life. It all started when I returned to streaming after a very long hiatus. I was nervous about coming back full time and unsure about everything and what to play next, and I ran a poll on my Discord for what we should play next. And surprisingly, one of the most votes went to Hollow Knight. At that point, I knew of the game's reputation, but I hadn't played it myself. I bought it, but it stayed in my Steam library untouched. So there I was. The first playthrough was proudly tagged on my stream, and diving into Hollow Knight as a complete newbie while a handful of my regular community members watched. Or so I expected. What happened next still blows my mind. It's like every Hollow Knight fan on Twitch has a sixth sense for fresh players. They flooded in. I'm talking people I'd never seen on my chat, swarming in like a bunch of moss to a flame, all because of those magic words. First playthrough. The Hollow Knight community starved, as I would learn, for watching newcomers experience their beloved game. Came to my stream in droves. It went from a quiet, small community to a lively chat full of Hollow Knight veterans eager to see my reactions, offered tips. Oh, how they love to backseat. And encouraged me through tough spots. It was overwhelming in the most wonderful way. I wasn't a big streamer by any means, but for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was shouting into the void. I felt heard, seen, and importantly, accompanied. As I ventured further into the game, I realized that even though I was a lonely little bug in Hollow Knight, I was not alone at all. I had this incredible community of people, strangers who quickly felt like friends, along for the ride. And let me tell you about Hollow Knight's community. They are fantastic. They're passionate, they're knowledgeable, a little crazy, but they have hearts of gold. Yeah, so they did backseat me at times, or constantly. Normally, that would annoy a streamer, but I could sense it came from a place of love. They adored this game so much that they couldn't contain their excitement in helping someone else love it too. I set some boundaries to avoid spoilers, but I never truly felt bothered. In fact, I found it endearing. Like having a bunch of friends on a road trip pointing out landmarks. And when emotional moments in the game hit or tough bosses had me struggling, these folks lifted me up. I remember pausing after a heavy lore revelation, World's last farewell at the lake, and glancing at chat and seeing the sad emotes and people sharing their experience and sadness at that moment. One of the funniest and most heartwarming things that happened was discovering that you could mod the game to use custom knight skins. A viewer mentioned, "Hey, Ducky, did you know you can change the knight's appearance?" And that sparked an idea. What if I put myself into the game? And the idea of myself hopping around Hollowness was too cool to pass up. So before I touched the late game content of Godhome, I dove into hours of animation and art, and eventually I replaced Hollow Knight with my own goofy little duck, and it was absolutely ridiculous, and I loved it, everyone loved it, and I remember everyone being super excited to see the duck in the game. It made the experience feel unique and uniquely mine, and it was like signing my own name on this adventure. With duck confidence, I finally challenged the Godhome DLC. For those unfamiliar, Godhome and the Pantheons are in-game gauntlets where you fight a series of bosses back to back, with the ultimate challenge being Pantheon 5. A marathon of every boss in the game ever. Yes, all of them in a row. Including some beefed up versions and... fuck you. It's the kind of content only meant for players who have truly mastered Hollow Knight. Now, I'm a stubborn duck, and chat dared me saying that Pantheon 5 is nearly impossible. Well, that sounded like a challenge, and I blazed through Pantheons 1 through 4, and those were tough, don't get me wrong, but they were manageable with practice. By this point, a lot of Hollow Knight regulars in my chat have become familiar faces and even friends. We had inside jokes, running gags, and it truly felt like we all hang out in this quest together, sharing victories and defeats. Then came the big one. I had a special stream for this. I will not end stream until I beat P5. Seasoned viewers knew that this was a risky promise. Some of them have joked saying, well, the stream will never end. And the challenge lived up to the hype. I went in, time and time again, each run taking a considerable chunk of time because of how many bosses you have to get through. I would get so far and then die to something dumb, or panic on a boss I usually had under control. Every time I fell, I had to start all over. It was grueling. Hours passed and I had to concede defeat for the day. The stream ended. I had to sleep eventually. And with P5 still unconquered, I was exhausted and very discouraged. But everyone was having a blast. They cheered me on relentlessly, even if they were making fun of me. And a lesser community might have backseat gamed me into oblivion or expressed frustration, but not these guys. They were invested in seeing me win, and they kept me determined. A few days later, I started another long stream, renewed resolve. This time I meant it. I will not end stream until I beat P5. The evening was electric. A lot of people showed up. Word had spread in the Hollow Knight circles. He's gonna do it. I remember hitting the 6-hour mark, then the 8-hour mark. Fatigue was setting in. Hands were trembling, but I refused to quit. Attempt after attempt, fail after fail, my chat kept hyping me up. We were listening to music. Music was being queued. Memes were being sent. Funny messages were being sent, and honest to God, encouragement that just kept me going. It was midnight, and I got so far, almost the end, and I failed one more time. And a very familiar face in chat said, you're stupid, just get more health. So I changed my charm setup to give me a little more health, and I went back into it. I realized I had a whole crowd virtually in my corner, some who had been there the entire day, finally on what must have been attempt, I don't know what. I felt something different. I was in the zone. Boss after boss fell. My health remained solid. My muscle memory was kicked in full throttle as I entered Pure Vessel. A brutal fight. I ended up with 1 HP as I slay Pure Vessel.
Oh my god.
And move on to Absrad, the final boss.
Let this end! Let this end! Yes!
I had done it. I beat P5.
Holy fuck!
I literally screamed. My chat exploded. The celebration, emotes flying, people shouting.
Holy
he did
shit!
It. And every manner of Twitch spam. I sat back in my chair, hands on my face, just crying. It was euphoria. Not because I beat a hard video game, but because of what it meant. I had set myself a monumental goal in front of an audience, struggled, failed, and picked myself back up, and ultimately triumphed with all of them by my side. It was a kind of pure, unscripted moment that reminds you why streaming can be so powerful. In that climactic victory, I looked at the scrolling wall of joyful messages and I realized something profound. I had found my people. These viewers, who turned friends, rallied behind me, many of whom discovered me because of Hollow Knight, had become an integral part of my life. Over the course of nearly a year I first stepped into Hollowness, they still stuck around. They didn't just vanish after the final boss, and they stayed for whatever came next, bonded by the journey we shared. Some of them became moderators, supporters, and collaborators, and we continued to talk about Hollow Knight till this day. Hollow Knight changed my life in a tangible way. It gave me a community. It gave me confidence as a streamer that I could tackle big challenges and people would care. It even sparked my creativity by making the Duck Knight skin, which in turn helped me meet more friends and lifelong friends. It's amazing to think that all of that sprang from this one indie game about a little bug, created by a small studio with a huge heart. I owe Team Cherry so much gratitude, not only for making a world that captivated me for countless hours, but for inadvertently bringing you all into my world. As I often say to my chat, even though I started Hollow Knight as a lone wandering knight, I never truly wandered alone. You were with me by the bench in Dirtmouth. You were with me in the caverns of Deep Nest, screaming at spiders together, and you were with me at Crystal Peak, gazing down at the Fallen Kingdom, and you were with me at the final triumphant moment in Godhome. Every step of the way, I had wonderful people by my side, and it made all the difference. Thank you. And now, here we are. at the end of the love letter. Our hearts are full of memories and our eyes are set on the future. And if Hollowness was a storybook, we're eagerly waiting the next volume. Team Cherry has been hard at work with Silksong and the excitement is palpable. I sometimes feel like the last stag, waiting for next travelers to arrive. Hopeful, a little wistful, but mostly excited. The thought of diving into a brand new world with new secrets, new combat moves, playing as Hornet, new bosses for me to scream at, it gives me butterflies. Or should I say it gives me grubs. And the best part is I know I won't be exploring Silksong alone. I'll have all of you right there by my side, ready to laugh at my deaths, to share the beautiful game, and to probably backseat me some more. Hollow Knight will forever hold a special place in my heart. It's not just the game's rich lore or breathtaking art or flawless design or beautiful music. It's the journey it took me on and the people I met along the way. It taught me about perseverance, about finding light in the darkness, and about how community can form around a shared passion. We've all left a little piece of ourselves in Hollownest, and Hollownest has given us so much in return. From the bottom of my heart, thank you Team Cherry for creating this masterpiece, and thank you to every Hollow Knight fan who's been part of my story. I'll end this the way Hollow Knight silently ends many of its character interactions, with a nod to what comes next. The dream continues. We await Silksong with eager hearts and open arms. I can't wait to step into a new adventure, to feel the magic all over again, and at least I get to experience it with you all once more. Until then, wanderers of Hollownest, stay brave, stay kind, and remember, in this dark world, we are not alone. The next chapter is on the horizon. I'll see you in Silksong.